to voicemail. What if she did something careless? He called her again. "Where are you? Please, talk to me," he texted, leaving a voicemail. "I can't lose her. Not like this," Kirk muttered to himself as he sunk onto the couch and held his head in reaction. Jasmine struggles with the pressure all throughout the city. Jasmine lay curled up on her couch, feeling as though her apartment was too cramped and stuffy, and every nook and cranny brought back memories of the altercations she had been dragged into. Her sister, a friend, a coworker, and a neighbor were all constantly buzzing on her phone. Everyone was curious about what was happening, so she placed the phone on quiet and tucked it under a pillow. The TV's light flashed across the room, but she wasn't watching. Instead, she was thinking too much. "Why does this always happen to me? I swear, I'm going to do better for you. I have to," she said, softly touching her stomach. She didn't want her child to grow up in turmoil. She didn't want to be the villain once more. And she didn't want their child to Google their father and discover this mess. But she wasn't sure if she believed herself. Her entire life felt like a never-ending loop of mistakes. She didn't want any of it. Tamara calls, and Jasmine answers. Suddenly, Jasmine's phone buzzed once more, and she saw Tamara's name. Her heart leaped. After a long while, she finally picked up, and Jasmine's kind voice said, "Hello." Did she really want to respond? "Look, I'm not calling to fight you," Tamara said in a tight but more composed tone than before. Jasmine gulped and said, "Okay." Jasmine closed her eyes and said, "I'm calling because Rasheeda is in pain, and I know you didn't put the story out, and I know you didn't want all this attention." "No, I didn't," Tamara replied candidly, shedding a tear. "I still don't like what happened." With a trembling breath, Jasmine said, "But I don't want you stressed while you're pregnant either, Dot. Thank you, but you gotta stay away from Kirk. Don't call him, don't text him, don't let him come over." Tamara continued after a little silence. Jasmine nodded to herself. "You're right. Rasheeda needs space. And if you want peace like you said, you need to help make that happen." "I will." "All right," Tamara replied. "Now, look after yourself." Rasheeda finally answers, but not how Kirk expected around midnight. Rasheeda sat alone in a hotel room, the light next to the bed casting a nice glow. But she felt cold inside since she hadn't picked a luxury location. The call ended, leaving Jasmine in a calm she didn't know how to feel about. Her phone rang once more. Kirk. Just somewhere quiet. Somewhere private. Somewhere she could cry without being seen. Kirk breathed a sigh of relief when she looked at the screen for the 8th time, hesitated, and eventually responded. "Baby, thank God, where are you?" she said, sounding lifeless and flat. "Kirk, please, can we talk?" "Just for a minute," Kirk said, his heart sinking. "Stop calling me." "No," she firmly said, "not at this time. Please, Rasheeda, I'm safe. That's all you need to know. I need to know you're safe. When are you coming home?" Kirk said, wiping his face with his palm while suppressing tears. "I don't know," she muttered. Are you leaving me?" After a long period of silence, Rasheeda finally said, "I'm not making any decisions tonight. But Kirk, I can't be in that house with you right now." Kirk squeezed the phone and said, "Can I see you tomorrow? I can't look at you. I can't breathe in there." "No, not tomorrow. Not right now," he said after yet another protracted pause. Kirk was devastated, but Rasheeda concluded by saying, "I need time, alone. I'll call you." "When I'm ready," Kirk said as the line abruptly ended, leaving him staring at his phone with a broken heart and a heavier-than-ever feeling in the Frost home. Kirk sat by himself on the living room couch, elbows on his knees, hands clasped together so tightly that his knuckles were white. His phone buzzed with missed calls from the network. Producers, fans, and people he hadn't spoken to in years. Everyone wanted a piece of him, a statement. Even the walls seemed tense, as if they were holding their breath, waiting for the storm everyone knew was coming. Everyone was looking for answers, but Kirk had none. He kept thinking about Rasheeda's final words, which pierced him more deeply than anything she had said in their years together. "You destroyed everything." AGAIN. Upstairs, Rasheeda was lying across the bed, staring at the ceiling with eyes that weren't blinking, weren't crying, and weren't moving. It seemed as though she had shut down her entire body to avoid feeling the pain burning inside her chest. He wanted to argue, defend himself, and explain what even he didn't fully understand. But deep down, he knew she was right. He had made another mistake, and this time the consequences felt irreversible. The DNA paper was still crumpled in her hand, and even though she had read it 100 times, she clutched it as if she needed tangible evidence that this nightmare was real. Meanwhile, Jasmine paced her apartment, rubbing her stomach and whispering to herself that the baby wasn't even showing yet. but she held it as if it were already here, as if it were her only reason to breathe. She wasn't sure if she should be ashamed, afraid, or proud. The world seemed to be spinning out of control every minute, and all she knew was that Kirk was the father and that another baby was on the way. The network gets involved in an attempt to contain the chaos. The show's producers called an emergency meeting 24 hours after the DNA test leak. Season 13 is going to be nuclear, one of them said, barely concealing his excitement, while another sighed, concerned about the extent of the real-life damage. No, a senior producer said icily, we need the reunion episode sooner. Should we call Rasheeda? Make sure she's safe. They didn't give a damn about people's hearts, families, or mental health. They just saw numbers and views. This is bigger than anything we've ever had. Ratings, viral moments. And this scandal was the biggest of the last 5 seasons combined. They drafted a message for Kirk. Emergency filming scheduled. Kirk moaned upon seeing the message. Cameras will be at your house in 48 hours. He didn't want to speak in front of the camera and didn't want everyone to analyze his error. But he knew he had no choice. The show owned their lives now. Rasheeda finally moves for almost 2 days. Rasheeda hadn't eaten, hadn't spoken, hadn't even changed clothes. The hurt was too loud inside her head, drowning out everything else. But on the second night, she finally sat up. She wiped her face with trembling hands. She wasn't crying. She wasn't broken. She was angry. The kind of anger that comes after heartbreak,